Welcome to Evolve. We are so happy that you have tuned in. So excited to have you. We have Liz here today.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
So just tell me about yourself, your background, and what you do right now.
So currently right now, I am a special educator at a private school in Essex Junction, Vermont. I was born and raised in Vermont. I went to high school in Milton, at Milton High School, and then I graduated from UVM this past year, COVID 2020 graduation, with a degree in psychology. So I picked up this job after I interned there my junior year of college. And so now I'm back teaching full-time, basically like full-time for the school day, but then it's part-time scheduling wise, like 32 hours a week. So not necessarily full-time.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now outside of working? Tell me about your side hustle.
What's your side hustles? So currently I'm trying to book more couple shoots, engagements, weddings. COVID makes it kind of hard, so I'm kind of glad I didn't pursue this like a little bit harder earlier, being like in the beginning of the summer, like let's do lots of weddings, because I didn't realize how long this whole masks and 6 feet and not being able to see family and friends would last. But so I've been planning a couple shoots. I have some stuff coming up. I just shot my first wedding, which is on my Instagram, and then some Facebook stuff. I still have to go through the 1,500 photos that are on my laptop.
And
organize them and then edit them and do all the details that I want to do when it comes to edits. But outside of that, I do a lot of work with horses and training horses, but photography is like my main like side hustle. Like if I was to hold two jobs, it would be photography and teaching, because they're both part-time gigs in my mind. I haven't fully made it a full-time career because I have a passion for people and for helping people. And so that's why I'm teaching people with special needs. But I also do love to take pictures of people and couples and all that kind of stuff. So I'm torn between what to pursue in terms of like a full-time career in the extended future.
And kind of looking back, I know like that's what you love shooting now. What got you into photography, and who is your influence, if you had the influences at that point when you first started?
Social media had like a huge part for me. Just seeing all the Instagram influencers in general, just having like such cute photos. And I remember like both of us trying all the time to take like these cute photos. And I was like, okay, this is like our little iPod 4s are not doing it. And there needs to come a point in which like we upgrade from this. And so I have very, very pretty friends, you included. And so I was like, you know what, let's start taking pictures of them. So I bought my first, I was like, you need a better camera with like more than 8 megapixels, maybe 12 max. And so I was like, you need to get a better camera. So back then that was around like 2016, 2017. My senior year of high school. So I bought a basic DSLR and I used that to just kind of start shooting around. I had a kit lens, and then I just took my friends out wherever, and we were just like, let's go downtown, whatever.
So how did you progress from, getting your first camera, starting to shoot downtown, to kind of where you're at right now, and really like creating a website and having that presence and really like committing to it, even though I know you still have, you still work at the school that you're at now. But kind of what took you from that first, like, I'm having a camera, I want to commit to this more, to where you're at right now?
I think honestly, and this sounds so conceited, when I found out how much of a lucrative career it could be, because like not only like people were telling me, they're like, okay, well, you have talent, obviously you need to expand on the talent and like learn more, but currently in where you're at, you have a lot of potential. And so I was like, oh, okay, like I would show pictures to friends and families and parents, and granted, I know people can just say that because they can say that to you, but I know you, but I have always pressured people to be like, just tell me the truth. Like if you don't like it, that's like not gonna hurt
honest
my feelings.
criticism.
Like I want you to know, I want myself to know, what do you not like about this photo? What do you think is good about it? Like what would you tweak? And so I'd ask my friends that. I'd ask like people like you who are artistic in their eye. A lot of my friends who I photographed were also like artists, illustrators, stuff like that. So they had really good eyes in terms of colors and dynamic and contrast. So they would give me really good feedback when it comes to that. The moment I knew I was taking it more seriously definitely was when I saved up for my Canon 80D, which is what I shoot on right now, which was the the middle ground between my dream camera, the 5D Mark IV.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing what I can right now. I didn't know the 6D or the 7D existed. I was like, oh, 80D, that seems like a good middle
It's perfect,
ground.
yeah.
Like, I was like, great, awesome. And I was like, oh man, crop frame. No. I was like, darn it. So I should have gone for the other ones, but I didn't know they existed. There was like a big moment when I was like, oh, when people were like, you should probably ask for money for this and stop just shooting people for fun. And then I kept seeing, I made a photography page and I friended a bunch of, friended, whatever, on social media, and was just like kind of like scanning through them. And they would do under their post, they would do these long like paragraphs of being like, you know, marketing and like what I started to be. And like, it was very inspirational of like, here's how you can get to where I am as a professional wedding photographer or professional travel photographer, whatever it is. And so I was like, oh, I should probably like look into this and like maybe do it.
I should do some research.
I should do some freaking research. So I did that, and it, you know, sometimes it feels like, you know, it's definitely not going to be a career because it's just very time consuming, and I don't have a lot of time, even though I'm only working 36 hours a week. There's only 24 hours in a day, and like there's other stuff going on. But I definitely feel like I've like working on finding my niche in terms of editing style, which is helping a lot.
Yeah.
Like being able to, it's very stressful because right now I'm like nitpicky, and I like sit there and I like,
aren't we all?
will literally just do all the details, like from the eyes to the eyelashes to the eyebrows, like doesn't matter. But like none of that actually matters. Like normally to get through like a good chunk of photos, you just need to like know your presets and know like what tweaks you're going to automatically make to the photo for at a baseline at least, because I know every photo has different lighting and different settings once you like actually see it on your computer. But doing that would be really helpful. So I'm still trying to figure out like what that is, because right now I'm individually editing a lot of my photos, because I'm just trying to find like what I like and what I can apply consistently over different scenarios than just like this one wedding that I shot. And we'll probably never have similar
It takes
lighting.
time to like develop that.
Yeah.
And to really like find your niche, find what works, find a style. And if you know that takes longer than you anticipated, and that's okay. Like you're experimenting, you're shooting, and you're still gaining those skills and working with those people.
Oh yeah.
So what has been the most meaningful project that you've worked on since shoot that you've done like since you've started?
I think I'd probably have to say this wedding was probably the biggest, most meaningful one.
When was this wedding?
This wedding was like 2 weeks ago, September
Oh, yes.
26th. So like I'm running on borrowed time right now to finish them. But it was nice because it was like someone actually was like willing to take a chance on me as a wedding photographer, because I keep seeing a lot of things where it's like you need to second shoot with a lot of things. And I was like,
And gain experience before. Yep.
right? And I was like, so no one's going to want to hire someone who doesn't have any experience right now. And I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I was like very scared to put myself out there in terms of like becoming a first shooter of a wedding. And COVID kind of made it perfect because this was such an intimate small wedding. They didn't need a second shooter. Like they didn't really want one to begin with.
Yeah, it's perfect for you for a
There
first
was
one too.
12 people sitting in like
Great.
the crowd.
Yeah.
So it was really, really intimate, really small, really personal, which made it really nice. The people were just super welcoming, and it was like a great, awesome first experience that has like really just kind of impacted me in knowing that like this is kind of how I want to do. It's like taught me like this is do's and don'ts. Don't throw your cell phone in the water in the middle of a shoot. Don't jump into the lake to get that cell phone in the middle of a shoot. It looks really good impressionable wise, but it gets really, really cold. And so the lake's not good in September anymore.
Great. Good to know.
But that was like my big one in terms of like people. I think then before that, I have connected with a fellow photographer here locally, and he has got me out of my shell. He knows a lot of people. So he's been able to like introduce me to all these people and then shoot with them. It's been really good because it's been kind of like the difference in our shooting dynamics has really like forced me to become more confident in my own and like my own abilities.
That's so good though.
Where it like lacks in his, and same with him. So I think it's like really positive. So like the most, because I think when I think about like my most recent work, I like literally am scanning in my head over my Instagram. I'm like, okay, what was the most recent thing I posted? Because I don't really remember. But the wedding and graduations, and shooting with this guy and doing that stuff and meeting all these people has been like the best projects, because it's like learning the people dynamic, because it's kind of nerve-wracking meeting new people.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
their expectation, and they're nervous because they don't know how to be in front of the camera, and you're nervous because you're like, can I direct you well enough so that you feel confident in front of the camera? And it's like this vicious cycle, but you just have to kind of like push yourself to be able to do it.
Yeah, no, and just like seeing you, going from starting and then working with people. And I've just heard too from you and just, like from my sister and I, and from what we've like done when we've kind kind of chat with you, is like you're great at just like giving direction for people. And I think that's really helpful, especially when you're with people who like in front of the camera are like, oh, I don't know, like this is intimidating. This is scary. Like, do I look good? How do I do this? And I think you're great at giving that direction, which is great because it is intimidating for sure.
Yeah.
So how do you educate yourself to take better pictures, and what details do you focus on to really make those pictures kind of what? And I know you said you prefer like couples and people. So how do you educate yourself and kind of work on bettering your skills?
YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Let me tell you, TikTok's new to the game, so I'm gonna like pretend like he doesn't exist. But it's been really helpful in a whole self.
It is. Yeah.
Like the short videos. So I've watched so many videos. I still have a bajillion left in my watch list in my photography to do later.
The watch later list is long.
The watch later list is so long. Just learning, kind of like I will actually like look at a photo of someone like I really like, and the picture they've taken, and then I'll have a photo of my own style, unedited, and so I'll try to match and like kind of match, not necessarily like 100% because it's never going to be, I don't have their presets, but kind of challenge myself to meet the colors and the color schemes that I really like of this photo, which helps me learn like, okay, what are the settings that I'm like tweaking the most? What am I doing in terms of that? That's been like the biggest learning curve for me, is like looking at something and then trying to visually match it as close as possible. But then remembering also like you don't want to copy someone else, you need to have your own unique style. Yeah. But by not like having their preset specifically to do that,
it forces you to
learn in the middle of it. That's for editing. For posing, I've definitely my friends used to make fun of me for not posing enough. So I was like, okay, we're not going to do this anymore. So I just started like, I've looked at a bunch of Vogue magazine stuff and, the We People, like couple, like weddings, the knot, all of that stuff to get pictures of like, what are some really, really common poses that are for couples, common poses for editorial work, common poses for senior photos, whatever it may be. It's been really helpful to use that as like and then like have that stocked in my brain. Unfortunately, there comes the factor of like, if you forget in the moment, it's like the most terrifying thing. Yeah. So it's been really helpful because like during this wedding, I was like worried that was going to happen. And so I had my assistant, I hired my roommate to come with me, and I was like, you're going to be my assistant for the day. And so she came with me, and she had a whole list of every single shot we needed to get, and then all the ones that were prioritized due to the bride and the groom's requests. So we went down through everything. And so I mostly remembered most of it, but like during it, I was like, in a panic, and me was like, are you going to forget something? And you're going to look back, of course, and you're going to be so mad at yourself.
I remember you telling me that you were like, I think like the night or two before, you're like, I don't know if I'm going to remember everything. Yeah. This is still big. Like I want to deliver. There's this pressure. And I think you did great.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And like having your roommate come with you too, that helps keep things organized. And a little bit takes the pressure off of you. While yes, you're still the one shooting, like it's having someone else there with you.
People underestimate assistants. Like I was like, oh, I could just do this alone. But like when I was there, like it's two separate buildings, the bride and the groom, or two places, and you have to like, if you don't have a second shooter,
split yourself.
You have to split yourself. So it's like, okay, what do I do? And if I didn't have my assistant with me to go get the ring, so we could take pictures of the rings and the save the date card and everything, then I would have like been backtracked a good like 15 minutes to go chase him down to get the rings from him, to come back to take the shot, so that I was in time for. It's just like a very long process that you like don't need to go through if you have someone else there to just do that while you can like multitask.
For sure.
But yeah, so YouTube, love those TikToks for the 60-second, like, here are my favorite shots, here are my go-to poses. Like, those things stay in my brain way more than, like, an hour-long video I've watched on YouTube, which is good because I have a short attention span when it comes to watching videos. So I'm like,
we all are. Our attention span is becoming shorter and shorter as a culture.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah. So was that wedding the most challenging project that you've done so far? Or has there been another one that kind of was as challenging or as, I don't know, anxiety ridden for you?
I think honestly, I shot this group of sorority girls for college for their graduation, and that was probably more nerve-wracking than the wedding because it was like 7 girls who all have really, really aesthetic Instagrams. So you need to make sure that the photos that they're gonna post meet their aesthetic. Otherwise, like, you're gonna get a bad rep because like they're gonna tell their friends, and like then you're like, okay, no one's gonna want to. Yeah, like you didn't fit their needs, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then like they picked like the worst time of day. They picked like 1 p.m. and it was like May. So it's high noon, like the brightest sun you could possibly pick. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do not have
it's not fully green yet.
No,
not here.
I was like, oh my gosh. gosh. And then getting there and they were like more focused on like each other than like focusing on like what was going on and like for photos and stuff. And then, like there were one girl would be like looking over here. I'm like, no, come back here. And like there'd be that one person where the photos like looks great. And then you look at that one person, you're like, oh man, I should have seen that sooner. Like I should have seen you were like tilted away or like your head wasn't in or your foot wasn't out. I think that was really hard because they had those expectations in the editing process. And then they were really sweet, but it was just kind of like, what do I do with 7 girls?
And it's tricky to manage a dynamic like that, especially when everyone has different expectations. And I know like when you did a graduation or you had another person shoot, but you did like graduation pictures and all of us kind of took turns like with you taking pictures for graduation. And it's hard because, well, of course your opinion is the only one that really matters. You're the one graduating. But it's still like managing different people when you're not just shooting like one person or one couple and that's just your focus.
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
For sure. Yeah. So what's the one thing or multiple things that you wish you had knew before you started taking pictures? I know you kind of mentioned it with gear and camera. You wish that you maybe had bought something different, but do you have any other things looking back on that you'd say, oh, maybe I'll do differently?
Get Lightroom and Photoshop sooner than later.
Yes.
Don't wait on that one. Camera gear, but also recognizing that camera gear isn't like, like your body, like focusing more on the lens. So I did that. Like when I realized afterwards that I had kind of gotten like not a low cut body, but like, I should have gotten like the full crop, not the crop frame, full frame, not crop frame. And so I bought a better lens to make up for it. So I bought a Sigma 35 and that in itself was like equaling the price of the body and which like,
they're expensive.
Not fun. It's an expensive career, hobby, whatever you want it to be. But outside of that, I think things that I wish I had learned sooner was just to be more forward and out there and be more progressive. If like, because like I see that if I stop trying to find clients, trying to find people, trying to shoot, then everything else stops with it. So stops the money, stops the connection, stops the influence. And so I just have to
keep networking,
keep trying, keep shooting constantly, which is hard when you don't want to shoot like the same people over and over.
Yeah,
and, like,
it's hard to find new people.
Vermont's not the most ideal place to find all the people to shoot with and influencers. And then people like, I find like shooting here with people, I'm shooting a lot of like senior-esque photos because I'm doing constantly a senior photo shoot where I would love to do more fashion and editorial work. But because everyone here, no one models, no one knows what they're doing with that stuff because it's not New York City or LA or any big city.
You should talk to Louise.
Right. But it's just a little bit harder to find the right kind of people. And then like, definitely like pursuing more of if you're doing like an editorial shoot, reaching out to companies, reaching out to other creators and influencers that are around you. Granted, I've always felt like I've been stuck because we live in Vermont and there's never really been that many creators or influencers around here. So it's like,
it's growing though.
It's slowly
really
growing.
Like, I feel like as a creative like community, I feel like Burlington's really growing. And it's it always has been, I think, a very creative based environment and very like sustainable, environmentally focused, obviously. But I feel like people are being much more open about it. And maybe that's just because I'm more involved in the community now. But I think there's definitely still opportunity. But it is sometimes hard when you're not in those like big metropolitan areas that seem to be just like flowing up with opportunity. Yeah. But I think you've done great with like what you've been given. And, I know travel's not really an opportunity right now. It is like within the US, but with COVID and everything, I think that, we're still managing all of our routines, I think in a way that I think is still like, we're still producing content. We're doing this and having you on and you're still doing what you still enjoy doing. And I think that's good that, like it hasn't entirely stopped because of COVID, which is good. And that you did the wedding, which is great. And hopefully, are you wanting to do more?
Oh
more
yeah,
weddings?
I have a meeting with our mutual friend tomorrow.
Oh yes.
Hopefully we'll have her hooked into it.
Get you those clients
for 2021, right?
Yeah.
I know. All the weddings. I had another wedding this fall, which was supposed to be actually tomorrow, or what's today?
Friday.
The 9th? Yeah, so it's supposed to be on Sunday, and it got canceled. So that was like second wedding.
That's okay. You got more
out the window.
People are still gonna.
I know people are still gonna get married constantly. It's cuffing season. Everyone's getting married. So it's like, okay, no big deal. And I'm not too worried about it with the part-time job. It's not like I'm financially unstable or anything. So I'm pretty much set on coasting for right now, just for the time being during COVID, and not really worrying too much about it.
Yeah. So lastly, what what advice would you give to someone who's wanting to start in photography or start in this area and who's maybe hesitant or feels like they don't have the gear that they need to really produce content that they really like and are proud of? What would you say to them?
Reach out to people. It's always good to just find someone that you like that's kind of local, and then reach out to them. Because from my experience, most people around here, especially in Vermont, and as tight-knit as the creative and artistic community is, everyone's willing to share with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's their creative energy, content, whatever it is. I literally drove to Middlebury to get a lens from a girl, and I didn't even need it, but she was like, just take it, it's fine. And she hasn't even asked me for it back. Like, it's not like an super expensive lens, but it's like her go-to lens. And she's like, yeah, just go ahead and take it. Like, no big deal. I have talked to her maybe like 3 times in my life, and she's just like, whatever, like, I'm gonna hear support really generous. Like, I really like your work, like, go kill it out there. So that's probably my biggest one. And then if it's something that's like a priority, just kind of how they say with a lot of things, if it's a priority, you'll make it happen. So it's like, if you want to buy a camera, it doesn't need to be the highest and doesn't have to be the 5D Mark IV or anything, or whatever the Nikon's version of that is. But saving up and pursuing that kind of deal is like the biggest importance, because like I will only set yourself back if you don't, make that your goal. If it's actually like something you want to do, but just kind of like, like, oh, okay, like I'm interested in it, but I'm not really sure what I want to do. Ask questions. And then if it's something where you like kind of level up from there and you're like, this is something I do want to pursue, like even if it's just hobby based or part-time based, like focus on that. Use your part-time job or your full-time job as a way of saving, download that app that helps you save money, and then
download that free app now.
Download that free app, and then that helps you save money, and then just like go for it in terms of making those lines connect so that you can make it more of a focus in your life versus kind of a background object type deal.
And it's always like, even if it's something that's fearful or something that you're like scared to start, I think just starting something. I know for myself, like, I'll have ideas like ruminating in the back of my mind. And once I actually start it and make a plan, I'm like, okay, this isn't that bad. Like, why didn't I start sooner? And so I think just making that plan, writing it down, whatever you can do to really set yourself and commit yourself to that. And like, we're in COVID. Why not just like start something new? Like, we're going to be here.
Everyone's becoming TikTok famous. Why not you do it too? Literally. Like,
why not? Just add another one. Awesome. Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
You're
this
welcome.
was fun.
Thank you for having me.
I loved this. This was great. So where can people find you on Instagram, Facebook? How can they get in touch with you?
So my handle for Instagram, Facebook, and my future website would be Sincerely Liz Photography, all one word, no dashes. And I'm also on the Mighty app and the Evolve page through that, which if
Mighty
you
Networks,
post anything on there, I'll be able to see it, get a notification.
Join the photography circle.
Probably turn those on to begin with, because I don't have any notifications on my phone. But I will comment, like it, let you know, connect with you as a creator as well if you're interested. Just give me a reach out, DM,
and Sincerely
whatever.
Liz Photography on Instagram as well.
Yes,
Perfect.
and my infrequent posting, yes.
Yes. You have great posts. You do amazing.
It's like every 6 days.
You do great.
We're
You're
solid
great.
coasting here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. This was great. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for listening and watching us. This has been great.
Fantabulous.
Amazing, as always. You can check us out on evolve-network.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz. Love to have you. So yeah, thank you. This was great.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yes. So where can? Sorry, you gave me really big eyes. Hold on. Sorry.
July look.
So
Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't do it.
No laugh attacks right now. No laugh attacks
You
right
were
now.
like the doe eyes.
Sorry.
I just care. Okay.
Oh shoot. Okay.
See, now I got it together. She can't keep it for 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, now you're like.
Old dead nose.
No.
And
You're fine.
coughing. I choked on oatmeal.
Choked on oatmeal.
It came back up.
Go. you.